Потому что ему день рождения, это было.
Ready?
Нет. У него вообще Коджи за последний, очень последний. Потому что евреи спасали, и евреи жалко было. Я хотел, чтобы это решили. Это вообще это.
Okay, here we go. Okay, Rabbi Shimono. Today we discussed two things. I'm now going to be discussing a third. Okay? What I'm going to be discussing with you today is in Lekutei Torah in Pashas V'zei Sabracha. The end of the Pashas V'zei Sabracha, there's a Maimon in Lekutei Torah, which begins with the pasuk Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis LeDavid. Mizmor Shir, which means a song, right? I already told you, Mizmor means with a keli, an instrument, and Shir means bepeh, with your mouth. There's a song which is sung with a keli, with an instrument. There is a song which is sung with the mouth. Chanukas Habayis, of the chinuch, the renewal of a bayis, of a house. And who's singing the Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis? David HaMelech is, LeDavid, right? So the Alter Rebbe said a maimer on this pasuk, Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis LeDavid. In other words, the Alter Rebbe took this first pasuk of our kapitel, that if you leave it to the Mukobalim, they'll chop the whole pasuk out of the whole Siddur, and he made a whole maimer of this first pasuk. What's the pasuk? What's the maimer about? The maimer is about Mozen Levush Bayis. Mozen means food, Levush means clothing, and Bayis means a home. What's the difference between Mozen, Levush, and Bayis? I'll tell you the key. Mozen, food, is Nefesh Ruach Neshama. Begodim, Levush, clothing, is Chaya. Bayis, a home, is Yechidah. Okay? I'll say it again. Mozen, food, is like the lower levels of the Neshama, what's called the Chassidus, the Pnimium, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. Levush, a beged, the garments, this is the madrega of Chaya. And a bayis, a home, is the madrega of Yechida. Why? Or by the way, if you want to use different words, Mozain, food, is mamale kolalmin, is a godliness which can be revealed to us. Levush, a garment, is seviv kolalmin, the godliness which is hidden from us. And bayis, a home, is the godliness which is not even hidden from us, it's above being hidden from us, what we call, for lack of words in English, the essence, etzem, which I don't like. Okay? How does the Alter Rebbe explain it? I'll tell you, it's a very, very simple way. When somebody gives you something, you want to make it yours. Right? When somebody gives you something, they want to make it yours. People give each other all kinds of things. A person gives you an idea. A person gives you a adar seichel, gives you a concept. A person shows you love. A person gives you food. A person gives you whatever. You want to take the entity which was given to you and you want to make it your own, correct? What is the proof that you made it your own? That you changed it. It becomes yours when you're able to change it. Somebody gives you a gift, someone gives you an idea. So someone taught you something. The next day you can come back to a group of friends and repeat word for word what that person told you. You didn't change it. You just repeated it. Why didn't you change it? Because you didn't process it. You didn't digest it. You didn't make it your own. If someone gave you an idea and you understood it and you processed it in your own brain and you gave it back in different words, that means it became yours. That's what food is. Torah is called mazon. Torah is called mazon. Bread, food. It says even in Tanya. Why? Because what's the proof that you understand the Torah? You learned it. You put it into your brain using your mouth and your mind. You process it, and you don't give it back the way you got it. You give it back different, because you digested it, and it became yours. Right? The Rabbi used the expression "Nas adamu basar kapsari." When a person eats food, yeah, he chews it with his teeth. Then it goes on into his stomach, and they chew it up again. They break it down and break it down and break it down. And what happens? All of the aspects in the food that the body is able to extract becomes the vitamins, it becomes the minerals, it becomes the energy, it becomes the cellular parts that keep the person alive and healthy and well, right? The waste is pushed out and the rest is recreated, right? There are people in this world who have what's called metabolic illnesses, stomach problems. They can eat and eat and eat and they're starving. Why? Because their body isn't breaking down the food, it's just sending it out. You understand? What's the difference between an elephant? What's the difference between an elephant and a deer or an antelope? Elephants eat a lot of food. And most of the food that they eat goes out because their stomachs are simple. Elephants don't have a kosher stomach. You know what a kosher stomach is? You chew it, you chew it, you chew it, you chew it, and you break it down, you break it down, you get the maximum. There are animals who can eat such dry straw, not grass, dead grass, and get nutrient out of it because their stomachs are so good. They break it down, they break it down. Elephants have very inefficient stomachs. So most of what they eat comes out. That's why they eat a lot. And they get a little bit of nutrient. And everybody else lives on the waste of the elephant. That's the truth of the matter. Nothing is wasted in the Abish's world. You understand? So the sign of health is you take it in and you make it your own. If you take it in and you give it out the way you took it in, you didn't make it yours. There are human beings who have stomach metabolic problems, whatever it is, Crohn's disease and irritable bowel. People have stomach problems. One of the meaning of these stomach problems, besides for the fact that there could be acid and other things, is that they don't digest food. They take the food in, the food goes out, and nothing happens. They didn't get energy from the food. They didn't get vitamins from the food. They didn't get minerals. They didn't get the pieces, the compounds needed to regenerate the goof. So they're eating and they're starving. You understand? But a person who's healthy, with Hashem's help, eats food. And forget the healthier he is, the less he eats and the more he gets out of it. Like Rashi says the expression, Shei bracha b'me'ehem. They would eat a little bit and there'll be a bracha in their stomach. The stomachs will get maximum nourishment, maximum advantage from the food that they eat. That's called mozain. Something they take internally. And in Yiddishkeit, mozain is Torah. Mozain is Torah. Torah was given to our brain to learn and understand and process, right? The Rebbe's expression is Yitpan Sumine, it gives us Panasa, and moreover, La Fashala. Not only does the Torah we eat feed us, we can create new Torah. La Fashala means to be Mechadish, to make new Torah. Pardon me, why are we able to make new Torah? Because the Torah has become ours so much, it's not Hashem's anymore, it's mine. And because it's mine, I can be Mechadish Chedushim and Torah. The sign of health is that I change it. I take the nutrients, I change them, I make them into me, and I give it out differently than I took it in. You understand? That's called mozain. What happens if somebody gives you a gift and you can't change it? So you have it. You benefit from it. But you're not internalizing it, right? It's not pneumius. What's the opposite of pneumius? Makif. It's not going in here. It's like a beged. It's an outfit. It envelops you. It surrounds you. You understand? Right? The opposite of pnimi is makif. If you're not able to internalize it because you can't process it and break it down and make it your own, you allow it to surround you. We call that in Kabbalah Sprach oir, light. Hashem gives us light. The opposite of oir is chayes. Hashem gives us life. Life is like food. It becomes one with the body. Oil, light, touches us, but it doesn't change. It remains what it is. So it becomes a beged. It becomes a garment. It surrounds us. Okay? But there's one thing about a beged, one good thing about a beged. It's midoi vad. Everybody has a different size. Everyone's shirt is a different size based on how big their body is. So a beged is a makif. A shirt that we wear, I'm not able to make one with me. I'm not eating it and digesting it and it becomes one with me. It remains outside of me, but at least it fits for my size. My shirt fits me, your shirt fits you, her shirt fits her, and so forth. So it's a makif, it's indirect, it surrounds me, but it's called a makif hakorif. It surrounds me, but it's close to me. I can't make it my own. I can't change it, but at least it's made special for me. You follow? The marshal for this is mitzvahs. When a Yid does a mitzvah, they don't change the mitzvah, and the mitzvah doesn't change them, but it protects them. Just like a shirt protects you from the heat, it protects you from the cold, it protects you from the environment. Mitzvahs are not Torah. Torah is mother, Torah is food. When a person learns Torah, they're supposed to understand it. When they understand the Torah, they give back the Torah that they learned differently than they learned it because they actually processed it. They made it their own. You understand? A lavush, a malbush, a beged, this is a makif. When a person does a mitzvah, a person separates challah, a person puts on talsum film, a person makes kiddush on Shabbos, the mitzvah remains separate from them. They're not the mitzvahs that Hashem said, they're just doing the mitzvah. But the mitzvah becomes katsina, rotzen, ta'ateren, it becomes a beged, it becomes a shirt, becomes a garment that's tailored to me, it's my size. I can't internalize, I can't ingest it, I can't make it one with me, but at least it fits me. You follow? That's the second madrega. So the first madrega is mazen, Torah. It's mine to such an extent that I make it my own, I change it, I give it back the way I got it. The second madrega is malmush. It fits me, it's for my size, but I cannot change it. I can only give back what I got because I'm not able to ingest it. And then there is a house, a bias. What about a house? Many people could be under the same roof, right? Like a sukkah. How many Jews can you put in a sukkah? What's the maximum size of a sukkah, pi halacha? Do you know?
One person, one.
Maximum. You can put every Jew in the world into one sukkah, it's kosher. The Gemara says, Ru'uyim kol Yisrael. In theory, you put all the Jews in one sukkah, it's kosher. So we share the makif. Beged fits me. A bias is called a makif harochik, a distant makif. Those are three different levels, you understand? Mozain, food, is what's not only tailored to me, but I make it my own. I change it into food, I make it my own. Malbush, it fits me. It's made to fit me. I do the mitzvah, you do the mitzvah, I can do the mitzvah for you, you can do the mitzvah for me. Each one of us has to do the mitzvah for ourselves, but it doesn't become one with me, it only surrounds me. And then there is the bias. The bias goes on the madrega of Yechida, the Pintel Yid. Because the Yechida we all share, we have one Pintel Yid, like it says in Tanya all over Kolos Yisrael. I'm not explaining that, I'm just stating it. Okay, what does the Yechida give us? It doesn't give us Torah, which we're able to understand. It doesn't give us mitzvahs, which is a shmira. It gives us amunah, that's what it gives us. It gives us tmimus, sincerity. It gives us yechida. It gives us a yechida, it gives us the pintaliyid. Okay? So a bias, a house, is a marshal for yechida. Not only am I not able to eat it and ingest it and internalize it, I'm not even able to make it fit my size. It's bigger than me. The power of Amunah and the power of Mesiras Nefesh, right? Of course, they're outside of my body, but they're not limited to me. They're Hashem, they're an infinity. This infinity is not my own. This infinity is the infinity of the Eibishter. That's Yechidah Shebenefesh. You understand? So the Alter Rebbe once had a relative of his, a son or a son-in-law, a grandson, who bought a house or built a house. And when he built his house, he made what's called Chanukah Sabayis. He inaugurated the house, he initiated the house. So he asked the Alter Rebbe to come and be mishtatif, to participate in the event. Alter Rebbe came, he said, "My Mechsidus, Miz Mishir Chanukah Sabayis a David." It is a song that you sing, and who sings it? David HaMelech when you build a house, Chanukah Sabayis. What's the song of Chanukah Sabayis? A home represents an environment that's not only not internal, it's not even indirect. A home represents an environment that envelops on the madrega of Yechida. You follow? Yeah?
Represents the what?
Yechida.
A home represents the Yechida.
That's right. A home is higher than a shirt. That's chaya. and it's higher than food, that would be nefesh, ruach, neshama. It's the madrega of Yechida. And how do you say this in psychology? How do you say this in psychology? What does food do for a person?
Knowledge,
What does clothing do for a person?
keep them warm.
And what does a home do for a person?
Shelter.
You're going to get married. Mr. Shem. Yeah? Once forever. Once forever. To a guy. Never. What are you going to do? Necessary evil. And you're going to build a house together. The home you and him are going to build together has never ever been created before. Never. Why? Because your personality and his personality are different. The combination of your two personalities is going to be very unique, very special. And in Mitzvah Hashem, you live together in peace. You live together in harmony. You live together in love. You'll become one. And any person who walks into your house is going to feel you, not you and him, you, the unit. And in that walls, you're going to raise children. There's going to be the food that you give the children. There's going to be the clothing you give the children. And then there's going to be the house. It's not cold walls. It's warm walls. Inside the walls of that home, there is a spirit. That spirit is going to be the combination of your energy, your life, your husband's life, your husband's energy. Together, it's going to create a unique form of peace, right? Sometimes you walk into a house and you get nervous because there's anger in that house. There's adversity, and sometimes you walk into the home and you say, I like this place. I want to hang around there. Why? Because there's a peaceful energy. That peaceful energy comes from the people. But it's not food. It's not clothing. It's what? It's the makavarochet. It's the yechida. Right? The deepest thing a person can give a person is himself. The deepest thing you can give another person is yourself. Now, you can't eat you. They can't wear you. Right? But when you give yourself to another person, you're giving that person your love. But it's much deeper than your love. You're giving that person your karma. You're giving that person your halo. You're giving that person your energy field, your what they call in Chassidus, your muhus, your very, very essence. Right? So when you build a house, what makes a house, the old expression in English is, what's the difference between a house and a home? A house is four walls. A home is a place where people live. And in a home, which is a place where people live, you feel the people who live in that home. The people who live in that home create a certain energy. Anybody who walks into that space gets something. They can't eat it, they can't wear it, but it's very real. You understand? It's very, very real. That's the marshal for Yechida. So you have a guest comes to visit your house, you give him food. You have a guest that comes to visit your house, you give him a blanket. He should stay warm at night. You can have a guest and you visit your house, and what do you give him? You give him the four walls. Now, practically, the most important thing is the food. You can't live without food. But spiritually, the deepest thing that you're giving them is not the food, it's not the blanket, it's the home. Because that home has a warmth, that home has a life that protects in a very deep way. It gives definition, right? So it makes us human beings, creatures of shalva. I said a bad word. Serenity, peace, which he calls ta'am, equilibrium. You understand? So the Rebbe said, when you build a house, you have to be mechanech the house. You have to make chinuch in the house. Why? Because a house is not four walls. A house is not even four walls and a roof. A house is a place where people live. A house is a place that people live in such a way that inside that house, you don't feel the walls, you feel the people. You understand? And that's why there's something called chinuch. You know what chinuch is? One day you'll get married to Mitzvah Hashem, and then a day after that you'll have Mitzvah children today. And that day after that, the children are going to grow up and leave their house, and they're going to go to school. They're going to be 3 years old, they're going to be 2 years old, they're going to be 4 years old, and they're going to cry so much. And you're going to cry so much, and you're not going to know what to do. And your maternal instincts are going to say, I'm going to keep my kid home and I'm never going to make him leave the house. But then you'll realize if you do that, you're going to be killing your child. If your child is going to grow up, he has to leave the nest. He's going to go to school. The first day he goes to school, they're going to make such a big party. Wow. Oh, look who came to school. Yeah. And the next day, you're going to say, oh, look who's here. And after a week, you're going to say, hang up your coat and sit down. Why? Because the first day is chinuch. After a week, it's not chinuch, it's teaching. The chinuch is the inauguration, the very first event. In other words, people are going to live in a house for 100 years, Mr. Hashem. When they initially move into the house, they do chinuch. Chinuch means they take these walls and they announce the energy of this home is this man and this woman. This is their space. And they make a big party. The first day they make a big party. The second day they don't make a party. But the first day they make, it's like when you get married. The day you get married, they make a big party. After a week, everyone forgets about you. You understand? It's the same principle. Because you want to be mechanech the house. You don't want it to be a cold place that people happen to be hiding out. You want this walls to be the people who live inside. So there's Chanukah's habayis for David. You understand? David HaMelech, we'll talk about David later, makes chinuch. When people move into a home, they have to make that house a home. They have to make that house have their feel. And anybody who walks through that door is going to feel their presence. Do you understand? When the Rebbe sent shluchim, last week we lost Rabbi Gorelik. The other day, now I see that book had passed away. We're losing people that we're never going to be able to replace. The Rebbe sent Rabbi Kunin on shlichus to California. And after being in California for a few years, he built a Chabad house in 1969. And he came to the Rebbe with a man, I think his name was Lazarov, who gave him a lot of money, with the key to the Chabad house. And he said to the Rebbe, we're giving the key to the Chabad house to the Rebbe because the Chabad house belongs to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, I want you to understand that according to Jewish law, when you're Meisem Aftech, when you give someone a key, that means it belongs to him. This is not, if you give me the key, it's mine. I said, yep, we're giving the Rebbe the key because they want the house to be the Rebbe's. So the Rebbe said, if the house is mine, it has to follow my rules. I said, okay. And the Rebbe said, I want the doors to always be open. The Chabad house on Gailey Avenue is never locked. The doors are open. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's the Rebbe's house. So you're going into the Chabad house in California. The Rebbe was never in California. The Rebbe never left Brooklyn, never left New York. But it's the Rebbe's house. So in that house, you don't feel Rabbi Kunin, you feel Rebbe. The Chanukah's habayis, that house has a chinuch. You walk into that home and you feel the Rebbe's invitation. You understand? That's a concept of a house, a bias. So now, if food is Torah and clothing is mitzvahs, what's a house? Something that you have that you don't do anything. Food you got to eat. Clothing you have to put on. To be in a house, it's in Chassidus, in Yenatzmi. You have something that you can't break into pieces. You can't chop it up into pieces. You can't chew it. You can't digest it. You can't change it. You can't make it your own. You can't even make it fit. There's no tailoring. You can't even make it to your size. But if you're inside that space, you feel that feeling. You feel that energy. Right? It says in Sfarim, I have my notes, I wrote this down this morning. What should be the most expensive thing in the world?
Yourself.
The thing that you need most. What should be the cheapest thing in the world? The thing that you need least. So what should cost more money? Food, clothing, or a home? And which costs the most? Which costs the least money? Food costs the least money. And the most expensive thing is a house. Why? So the Rebbe Marash writes, they beat from the Rambam, that the Eibishter made that things that are most vital should be so available that it should be able to charge. The most necessary thing in the world is air. We still don't charge for air, right? Unless you ask Mr. Kyoto. The second most basic need is water. It's almost for free. And the third most basic need is food. The Eibishter made that the things that you need more are less expensive. And then, of course, the Rambam goes on to say, and the Rabbi brings it, people shouldn't kill themselves for earning extra money. If you have what you need, be happy. Don't make yourself crazy to earn pearls and people that risk their lives. The whole thing that the Rambam brings, the Meir Nevuchim, that the Rabbi quotes. So be'emes, food should be the most expensive, and clothing should be cheaper, and home should be even cheaper. But the Eibishter made a special nest that the food is cheap. There's so much food in the world that it's almost for free. You understand? He also brings a common sense explanation that the home lasts the longest. A home could last 100 years, an outfit lasts a year, food lasts for one meal. So because you get more out of it, it's more expensive. You can live in the same house every day. You have to eat different food every day, wear different clothing every year. It's another explanation for why a home is more expensive than a beged, and a beged is more expensive than food. But the deeper pshat is because without a home, you're not a person. Of course, you need to eat. Of course, you need to wear clothing. Of course, you need to have a home. And of course, without food, you won't live. But in terms of being a human being, if you don't have a home, you're missing fundamentally. Fundamentally, you understand? I have a father. May he live and be well. Yeah, but he's my father. He's mine. I'm not giving him away. You can. I'll share him with you, but you can't take him away from me. My father is a very, very interesting Jew, and he has a very unique way of teaching Chassidus. So he has many of his own mishalim that are very interesting. They make you very nervous. They make you very nervous because they don't say in Chassidus, but they also make so much sense. Imagine you come into somebody's house as a guest. He says, "Here, sit." So you sit. He brings you food, puts it out in front of you, and says, "Eat," and leaves. How would that feel?
They feel like I'm angry.
Imagine coming to a person's home. He says, "Sit," and he brings you food, and you eat, and he sits next to you. Is that the same experience or is that a different experience? It's a totally different experience. It's a completely different experience. Even though I came for a meal, but when I'm in somebody's house and he gives me food, he says, "Here, nem es." I'm eating on Plato. You know the old story. A guy went to Pluto for a wedding. Pluto used to be a planet, and it was recently reduced to a planetesimal. So a guy comes back to me and says, "How was the wedding?" He says, "There was no atmosphere. You understand? There's no atmosphere. If you eat food and you stay alive, but you're giving food like you give food to an animal. Forgive me for saying it, like you give it to a dog. So he's eating, staying alive, but that's not life. The home is life. And in a mystical way, in a metaphysical way, it's more important than the clothing. It's more important than the food. Meaning, technically, you can't live without air, without water, without food. And without clothing, depends where you live. Some places it's more necessary, yeah. But spiritually, the first need of a person is to be a person. That's the bias. The second need of a person, that the person should be protected. That's the beged. And the third need of a person, the person should have what becomes his own. That's the mother. That's a taich. Miz Meshir Chanukas Habayis LaDavid. David HaMelech sings the Mizmer and the Shir of Chanukas Habayis. Habayis. You understand? Now, in Avodas Hashem, this bias is emunah. In Avodas Hashem, this bias is tmimus. In Avodas Hashem, this bias is mesiras nefesh. Right? So now, let's go back to how I start today's class. How did I start today's class? I told you that there's a difference between Asiya and Yetzirah. Remember? Mm-hmm. What's the difference between Asiya and Yetzirah? Only Amunah. What about Yetzirah? You see Hashgacha Pratis. So now, when you're transitioning from Asiya to Yetzirah, what should you celebrate? Where you're going to or what you're coming from?
Are you going to?
No. In terms of Giloyim, in terms of what you're going to experience, you're going to a better place. But in terms of Etzem, that's your house. So the Makabalim celebrate where you're going to. Chassidus says, no, Shechanukas Abayis. In this world, we can't see Ashgacha Pratis, but it's Hashem's house. And that's the Taich. Miz Meshir Chanukas Abayis LeDavid. The Mekubalim are celebrating the number 91. Chassidus is celebrating the number 96, which is connected to Avodah Zarah. Not that it is Avodah Zarah. It could be Avodah Zarah. Because the Bible is saying, I'm going from a world where I can't see Hashem to a world where I can see Hashem. And Chassidus is saying, wait. Where you are right now, Hashem doesn't exist. Yeah, he exists, but I can't see him. Can you feel his presence a little bit? That's Miz Meshech Harukas Abayis. That's right. Now that is gorgeous. Huh? What I just said is beautiful. Miz Meshech Harukas Abayis. Asiya is an environment where you cannot experience Hashem like food, like clothing, but you can experience him on a level of Amunah. That's the deepest thing. That's Yechidah. You think I'll come back next week? Huh? I'll try to come back next week also. So we learned 3 things today. Number 1, I told you the last reason for why we say it, because we're transitioning from Asiya to Yetzirah, right? Number 2, we gave the 2 interpretations of the pasuk. V'ni amarti b'shalvi b'lebet leilam. The way Klippa says shalva, and the way Kedusha says shalva. And number 3, this is the beginning of the Chassidus. The Chassidus says Miz Mishir Chanukas Abayis. In other words, we're going to celebrate not how we're going from Asiya to Yetzirah, but what Asiya is. You understood? I'll see you in a week.
Thank you.
I'll see you in a week. And Yetzirah next week. Okay.